No child in Jamaica of school age should be sitting idly around or on the road going to the corner shop or doing housework during school time, which is designated as 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday to Friday starting January 4, 2021.
You heard the minister. There's a time for play and most definitely a time to hit the books. COVID-19 has changed the way learning takes place, but not the need to ensure learning continues. So parents and you little ones, make sure you are aware how your school is conducting classes this term and get engaged. Hi everyone, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine. We are still reviewing government's performance in 2020 and a lot more, so please stick around.
While confronting the most significant public health challenge for Jamaica and the world, huge investments were also made towards transforming the health sector. Watch Jamaica Magazine on Thursday, January 7, as we reflect on those developments in our 2020 Year in Review for the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, January 6. Education Minister Favour Williams is expressing satisfaction with the measures in place for face-to-face learning at schools. Minister Williams was speaking Tuesday during a tour of 3 Kingston and St. Andrew area schools. They are among 129 schools that have been approved for the pilot phase of face-to-face teaching and learning.
We have done our risk assessment of the schools, all the schools across Jamaica. Then we layer on top of that the ministry's own physical inspections. Of course, the Ministry of Health and Wellness would not give a school a satisfactory grade unless it meets all of its checklist items. So we're quite satisfied of the rigor of that process. And when we actually come onto the school compound, quite satisfied about the awareness of the COVID protocols, but beyond the awareness, the implementation of the protocols.
During her first-hand look at activities for the start of the new school term, Minister Williams met with school administrators, teachers, and students. She expressed confidence that students participating in the face-to-face activities were safe. She also implored stakeholders to be serious about formal education.
I want to remind parents, teachers, principals that all the approaches are still available. For those students who are not here physically, schools are in session regardless of whether you're doing it remotely or using the learning kit or using audiovisual or face-to-face.
Meanwhile, State Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Robert Morgan, is appealing to public transportation providers to help ensure the safety of students attending face-to-face classes. This, he says, can be done by sticking to the COVID-19 rules laid down by the Ministries of Health and Transport. The State Minister was speaking to reporters during a tour of schools in St. Catherine Tuesday. He also appealed to parents to help their children with schoolwork.
A lot of the times the work that parents do is not necessarily just assisting with the homework, but being present, being a guide, being a support, encouraging, ensuring that the students are engaged. And that's, I think, the most important role parents can play.
In other news, the National Export-Import Bank of Jamaica, Exim Bank, has donated $510,000 to 3 institutions that cater to children. They are the Salvation Army School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, Best Care Special Education School, and the Warwick Hill Basic School. The Salvation Army School for the Blind and Visually Impaired received a $310,000 check as well as 5 tablets with a year's supply of data. Best Care Special Education School got a $30,000 donation, while Warwick Hill Basic School received $170,000 towards its restoration project. The Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, JHTA, says its COVID-19 Ambassador program has been having a positive impact on workers and stakeholders in the sector. President of the JHTA, Clifton Reeder, says that since the implementation of the initiative last September, more than 30 ambassadors have been recruited from various accommodations and attractions. In addition, over 10,000 masks have been distributed to communities island-wide. Mr. Reeder says training received by the ambassadors have facilitated the implementation of safety protocols across the sector for the well-being of local and international tourists.
Our trained employees will go into adjacent communities to their hotels and to ensure that they train the communities in simple procedures. I mean, hand washing, social distancing, mask wearing, and sanitization. Because we believe those 4 pillars are critical to managing the COVID virus, not only in hotels, but of course in the communities.
The COVID-19 Ambassador Program is currently active in Ocho Rios, Montego Bay, Negril, and Kingston, and will be launched in Portland and St. Elizabeth shortly. And finally, tributes continue to flow for late business magnate Gordon Butch Stewart, who passed away on Monday at age 79. On Tuesday, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett remembered Stewart as an icon, an innovator, philanthropist, and great tourism marketer. Minister Bartlett also praised him for his contribution to Jamaica's development. Education Minister Favour Williams also hailed Butch Stewart for his stalwart support of the education sector. Minister Williams said Stewart, in his personal capacity and through the companies and organizations he founded, was instrumental in providing scholarships for children, upgrading schools, and providing much-needed equipment and resources. State Minister Robert Morgan shared similar sentiments. The Jamaica Chamber of Commerce and Jamaica Business Development Corporation also paid tribute to the late businessman. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Managing Jamaica's financial space in 2020 was a balancing act between ensuring prompt response to the COVID-19 pandemic, maintaining fiscal discipline, and drafting policies to stimulate economic growth. Here is how the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service executed its mandate in the last year.
The government will do all we can to ameliorate the effect of this pandemic. We will be implementing an unprecedented $25 billion fiscal stimulus.
We review how finance and the public service kept focused on building forward in 2020, even in the face of unprecedented challenges. It was a great start to 2020 for the Ministry of Finance. Building off increased revenue and fiscal surplus at the end of 2019, Minister Dr. Nigel Clark was able to announce an $18 billion cut in taxes when the new budget was introduced in March. It included a 1.5% cut in general consumption tax, GCT.
A cut in the rate of GCT will leave, big difference, will leave more disposable income in the economy, which will boost economic activity, which should benefit all households and firms.
In addition, asset tax paid by financial institutions was reduced by 50%. And micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs, got a tax credit of $375,000. Government didn't stop there. Cocoa, coffee, and coconut industries also benefited from a 50% reduction on aggregate fees. And the Trade Board reduced its fees charged for all non-motor vehicle-related activities by 50%. While the Ministry of Finance was setting the framework for economic growth, it was also being proactive in anticipation of the coronavirus COVID-19 reaching our shores. When the first imported case was confirmed on March 10, plans were unveiled the same day.
Our first fiscal response is to provide an advance of $2 billion against the budget proposed for 2021. The $2 billion, Mr. Speaker, will be immediately available.
In addition, a $7 billion COVID-19 contingency fund was put in place from the 2021 budget to provide for any broader impact of COVID-19.
We want the Jamaican people to know, however, that the government is prepared should the need arise, Mr. Speaker.
A week later, the banking sector agreed to forego the reduction in asset tax announced in the budget and donate that $3 billion to the COVID-19 contingency fund. To ensure there was a steady supply of essential safety equipment in the country, the Finance Ministry waived customs duties on the importation of masks, gloves, hand sanitizers, and liquid soap for a 90-day period. It also waived the special consumption tax on approximately 100,000 liters of alcohol for use in the making of sanitizers.
The producer of this 100,000 would actually be donating this 100,000 to the National Health Fund and the Ministry of Health.
To enable continued operation of the business process outsourcing (BPO) sector, the ministry also waived the requirement for operators to keep equipment at their designated offices to facilitate work from home. When economic activities were being impacted from containment measures, such as the closures of airports, curfews, and a work-from-home order, the government was again prepared with stimulus measures. A $10 billion COVID allocation of resources for employees care program was rolled out in April. It provided temporary cash support to targeted businesses and individuals.
We have the best chance to recover if we support companies to remain connected to their employees, and we support employees who have become disconnected.
The set and best cash components were later extended to December 2020. To further ease financial strain, the Students' Loan Bureau waived fees from April to June and deferred all loan repayments for 3 months. Among other contingency measures deployed by the Finance Ministry was to secure the approval of $520 million from the International Monetary Fund (IMF) Rapid Financing Instrument (RFI). If the need arises, the money will be used to tackle challenges associated with COVID-19. In addition, the ministry got approval from both Parliament and the Senate to suspend Jamaica's fiscal rules until March 31, 2021, giving government the flexibility to deploy funds for critical expenditures.
It will allow the government to target a lower primary surplus of 3.5% of GDP this fiscal year, down from 5.4%, and this will allow us to accommodate the COVID-19 response expenditures in light of the reduced revenue that we're likely to experience.
By October, the COVID-19 expenditure was $36.8 billion. As the pandemic spread worldwide, the economic impact became evident as a result of global and local containment measures.
However, there was a tempering in the rate of contraction consequent on the phased reopening of the economy.
On the upside, overall revenues for the first 6 months of the 2020-2021 financial year was $8 billion, or 3% higher than budgeted in the first supplementary estimates. While managing the economic and health challenges resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic, the government at the same time was facilitating sustainable economic recovery. Capital expenditure in the second supplementary estimates for 2020-2021 was increased by $6 billion to scale up public investments.
Increasing public investment at this time can help revive economic activity and maintain jobs.
Following that, the Finance Ministry launched the Jamaica Investment Map to allow interactive public access to information on investment projects being implemented by the government. In addition, 30 medium-sized companies were able to access a maximum of $14 million in grants to introduce or expand innovative processes, products, and/or services. It's funded by the Inter-American Development Bank (IDB) through the $50 million Boosting Innovation, Growth and Entrepreneurship Ecosystems (BIGEE) project.
The objectives of the first operation will be to promote innovation and productivity among established MSMEs with high growth potential and to promote sustainable growth in scalable startups.
To assist businesses continue their operations, the Finance Ministry relaxed criteria for Tax Compliance Certificate (TCC). Access to funding was also provided for 150 social service groups through the launch of the $910,000 Innovating Social Sector Financing Project. Meanwhile, coverage under the Deposit Insurance Act was increased from $600,000 to $1.2 million. On the legislative side, the Bank of Jamaica Amendment Act was approved by the House of Representatives and the Senate.
This bill, Madam Speaker, clarifies the mandate of the central bank, provides for capitalization, adequate capitalization of the central bank, and institutes a modern and robust, accountable, transparent institutional framework.
As part of the human capital development thrust within the public service, government gave commitment to provide 150 postgraduate scholarships for civil servants, valued at more than $1 billion over the next 5 years. Dr. Clark was able to continue the government's fiscal measures following his reappointment as finance minister after the September 3 general election. He is supported by Marsha Smith, who was appointed Minister of State. Leslie Campbell, who previously held the position, was reassigned to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. 2020, a year of diligent and strategic decision-making for the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service.
And working together, supporting each other, Mr. Speaker, Jamaica will overcome this. And these fiscal stimulus measures will give us the best opportunity for our eventual economic recovery.
Keeping Jamaica open for business is critical to all plans and policies for accelerating economic growth. The global pandemic certainly challenges that, but COVID-19 does not have to mean shuttering your business. In fact, the Ministry of Health has developed protocols designed to prevent that, even while keeping workers and clients safe. Take a look.
This workplace protocol is in keeping with the new phase, the latest phase of COVID-19, which is the community transmission phase. Focus is on how to prevent not just getting the virus, but more importantly, managing the virus in our current environment. And that includes how we adjust the workplace so work can take place while we manage the spread that will happen and is happening.
What employers and employees have to recognize is we no longer know who are the positive persons, because there are several positive persons in our community. They look just like you. They move around just like you. They're not having symptoms. They don't know that they're positive, and you're not going to know they're positive. It makes sense, therefore, that everything that you do in your daily operations, whether it is in your home, whether it is in your community, whether it is in your workplace, that those measures are sufficient to protect you and to protect others. And that is why we have the infection prevention and control measures. Organizations need to put in place daily cleaning protocols that are sufficient to kill any virus particles that may remain on surfaces where droplets may fall. Now, basic workplace rules are important for persons wherever it is that you work, and workers are required to wear a mask at work, and they must hand sanitize before entering their work area. Physical distancing, whether you're in an office, whether you're on a factory floor, whatever work it is that you do, physical distancing must be maintained at all work areas. Hand sanitization as you move from one work area to the next is important. In this way, you can even have somebody that is positive, who don't know that they're positive, working alongside you, but they are not transmitting infection to you. They are not exposing you because they are protecting themselves, and you protect yourself as well to decrease that risk of transmission. Management must play an important part in advising workers about COVID-19. Workers are to be advised that if they develop a fever or they're not feeling well, then they should call in and stay home. Workplaces must make those allowances to prevent the possibility of somebody who is symptomatic coming to work. If persons are not feeling better after a few days at home, then they should seek medical advice, and that may include doing a test. If they have done a test and the test is positive, they will be required to stay at home for a minimum of 14 days, including 3 symptom-free days after symptoms are resolved. Now, because whatever workplace they're coming from, has been observing all the workplace protocols, and that person would have been in a mask at work, would have been hand sanitizing as they move from area to area, then there is no need to close your business or to send home other workers. If someone in the workplace is observed to be ill and to have a fever or respiratory symptoms, then that person should be sent home. Now, the area in which the person was should be wiped with a mild bleach solution and the surfaces wiped with disinfectant or alcohol. Now, once this is done and the area is dry, then that area is safe to be used. Now, persons who are in contact with the person who was symptomatic, showing symptoms, then those persons, if they have been adhering to their IPC measures, their infection prevention and control measures, then there is no need for those persons to go home. They are allowed to come to work. However, they must obey the instructions and the advice that have been offered from the workplace to say that they must adhere to all infection prevention and control measures. And if they start to feel ill, they must stay home and report that they are ill.
It's going to require significant personal, individual responsibility. The community transmission phase is a phase that requires an all-of-society approach more than any other phase. Everyone has to play their part. That's why we say everyone counts. And in the context of a work environment, every employee, employer, their workspace has to comply with the rules of engagement, assuming that if the virus is present, it is confined to that individual and not going to be spreading across the board. And if we take that approach, then we will make it happen.
If I cancel them, you off. Make sure you gon' get them down. That is how we are go trace them, identify them, target and trace it. Prevent disease from spreading. Your health is worth defending. Target and trace it. You never think fi hide, tag them with pride and put the coat even out of style. Target and trace it.
A message from the Agricultural Competitiveness Program of the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries.
In her recent back-to-school message, Minister Favour Williams reasserted that education is still compulsory and appealed for parents to get their children off the streets and engaged in schoolwork. Essential to the process of learning is literacy. We explore why next.
Have you ever curled up with a good book? Do you have a favorite story? Many of us do, but sadly, 750 million people worldwide are not able to read. That's according to UNESCO. And many children have never had the joy of a book being read to them. This has to end because literacy matters, and being literate changes lives by changing hearts.
Good morning. My name is Miss Laddie, and I'm going to read you a story today. The name of the story is Peachy. Peachy is about the sweetest little peach. Do you know what a peach is? Who can tell me what a peach is? It's a fruit.
Did you know that every year the first Tuesday in September is celebrated worldwide as International Literacy Day, and right here in Jamaica, the entire month of September is dedicated to literacy awareness? Here's why.
We find that one day is not sufficient to bring an awareness of what literacy really means. We have a month-long activities that are slated for the island where students and teachers are engaged in various activities. Such activities include a monthly project that the students will be involved in. It also involves read a book per day, write a passage per day, and also wear a word per day.
And there's more.
Teachers and parents are urged to help children develop an appreciation for literacy, what it can do for their personal growth and for national and global development.
But what exactly is literacy, and why is it so important?
Literacy is the ability to read, write, and to compute. But in the 21st century, literacy has demanded more competency skills than it used to before. These skills include comprehending and decoding through text and visual aids. So the child's ability to comprehend and understand what he reads.
The importance of reading is very fun. It builds up my brain and it builds up my school level.
Literacy is as important as food, because in order to be a functional member of society, you have to be literate.
It's important to be literate, one, so we can read for joy and make our lives a happier life, and also so that we can function properly in the world when we're an adult, filling out applications and being successful otherwise in life.
Due to the COVID-19 outbreak, numerous adjustments had to be made this year to encourage literacy among students who were away from the physical classroom. Students were encouraged by the Education Ministry to use various platforms at home to read stories, write poems, and express themselves through creative expression. If and when they need a break from reading within the confines of their homes, rest assured they could and still can visit their nearest public library to enjoy their favorite story.
The St. James Parish Library has been strictly adhering to the COVID protocol set out for protecting the users as well as staff members. And staff members designated and is assigned to ensure that persons are sanitized, their temperatures are checked, and they are wearing their mask upon reaching the library. In addition to that, we have also been very mindful of the social distancing, and we reorganized the library so that there are less chairs, less tables, and more space. In addition, the highly touched surfaces are sanitized on a regular basis.
So, as you can see, even though the country is tackling a global pandemic, literacy continues. In fact, literacy is even more important because there is a greater need to know and be in the know.
Just imagine a world in which everyone is able to read. Sounds impossible? Yet it isn't. We all have to play our part in helping each other become literate so that each of us can in time find our favorite story.
This is where Jamaica Magazine wraps for today. Our Year in Review series continues tomorrow, so be sure to join us then. Same time on this same station. Of course, all our programs are uploaded to the JIS YouTube channel and our website, jis.gov.jm. Visit us there and on all the social media platforms. Until next time, I'm Adrian Atkinson on behalf of the entire production team saying thank you for your company and do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.